I watched.
Sorry, I got to record it.
That's right. What systems are we using?
Yeah,
Is that
like
what
we use
you're asking?
Red X or
No, we are not calling, no intent leads. We are not cold calling. That's not part of our business plan. However, with the exception of probate leads, we do that. But the majority of our leads are top of the funnel. They're cold leads. They've clicked on an ad or something like that. So they've signaled a little bit of intent. They're just really at the very beginning of the process. So our mainstay is Ylopo. That's where the majority of our leads come in, and that's Google PPC, Facebook leads, Google LSA, and GBP. But we do use other lead sources. We've used ZBuyer and Redfin and a bunch of other top of the funnel leads that are just really don't. I would say they just kind of stumbled into the system, if you will.
okay.
Eric,
You know,
where is your leads coming from?
They've all been just sphere of influence. I've been flipping houses for a long time, so I initially got my license thinking I would just use it to buy and sell my own stuff. And then, stumbled into some friends and family and just realizing that I would like to lean a lot more heavily into that versus being 100% dependent on just selling my own flips.
Yep. Yeah, that's fantastic. And a little bit about our business background is, when we started our brokerage, it was the majority based on our sphere and our friends and family and referrals, and that was a really good business for us for a long time. But as we started to grow, pretty soon everybody has bought something or sold, so it gets a little harder. So we started looking for new ways to bring in fresh clientele, and this is what has worked really well for us.
That's awesome. And it's something that I've looked into, but it's so tough. There's such a diverse uh, conception of online leads. Some people love them, some people hate them. Some
Yeah.
are super expensive, some are inexpensive. And so it's been fun listening to you guys and how you've done it, and shed some more light on that.
Yeah. And it kind of comes down to three things. When people talk about failing with online leads, it's usually a couple things. One, the expense depends on how close you are to the lead. The closer the lead is to transacting or you being able to talk to them, the more expensive it is. So Zillow is an online lead, right? But generally the people that call are they're ready to go see a house right now. They're ready to do something. So that's why those leads are so much more money.
Yeah.
When we talk about top of the funnel leads, they're people that have, they have some intent. They've clicked on an ad, they've clicked on a house ad. Somehow they came into your system, but they may be, 3 months, 6 months from buying or selling. So those are very high nurture leads. And those are generally very inexpensive, and that's why we like them. And you get high volume. The reason most people fail is they're not prepared for that level of nurture, the time it takes, and they go at it like they do with their sphere, with people who know, like, and trust them. They
Yeah.
start right in on trying to get those people to go out and look at houses, and are you pre-approved? And it's a turnoff for somebody that simply just clicked on something.
Sure.
But when you learn this kind of science of lead conversion, it ends up working for across the board. Not only does it work well with your sphere, but open houses and it just kind of works everywhere. It just works really well for converting leads if you're willing to put in the time and effort. The other great byproduct of this has been our business isn't seasonal any longer. We have business year round because when you're nurturing leads, that maybe 3 months out or 6 months out. I mean, we've nurtured leads for 2 years before they transacted, but it gives us business year round.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
would say
that's
Now,
that's my
awesome.
number one complaint with sphere of influence marketing is you have to do a lot of it. You have to basically, it takes years and years and years. The problem is everyone goes, "How do you do so many deals, Lewis?" I'm like, "Well, I've been at it 20 years and I've helped people with kids, grandkids, all sorts of stuff." And that's a slow way. It's a very great way that will provide you money forever, but it's very slow. It takes a
mhm,
lot of years. And I was a firefighter for 10 years. So I'm like, you don't want to follow my same path. You probably don't want to go get your fire service, go through all that and then fight fires and talk to people and build it up the way I did. But everyone comes to me as like a figure of authority. And how do I get deals today? And I'm like, gosh, I can just reach out to my clients and I have enough conversations. Naturally, it leads to conversion. But I got to say this, having the top of the funnel, having something where you can always throw people in and start building that, that's the quicker way to do it, right, Tosh?
It is, and something that we didn't anticipate, but has turned out to just be so awesome is, let's say, for example, you get a Realtor.com lead or a sold or a Zillow lead, and they want to see the house. You go see it, you write the offer, the deal is done, right? Awesome, paycheck in 45 days. However, what you didn't do was a chance to get to really know that person. And so we found that when we're nurturing these leads for 2, 3, 4 months, when they're ready to transact, not only are they educated, you've built a good relationship, and we find that we get a ton more reviews out of them and a lot more referrals out of them, and we've just built a more lasting relationship.
Yeah, that's awesome. They're actually turning into sphere of influence. Yeah.
Yeah, yep,
Which, by the way, can
definitely.
you guys see if anyone's in the waiting room? I've got a Mac and I'm trying to figure it out, and it looks like I'm like I don't know how to find any of my controls. I can't mute myself. I don't know what I've done, but do you guys see anyone?
It doesn't look
I
like it.
Okay. Which is totally fine. I don't want to worry about it too much because I'm like I don't know what I did, but somehow I got rid of all my controls. So I won't even know how to end this call. I don't know, but what I wanted to say was it's interesting how whether you're doing online leads or you're doing sphere of influence leads, there's a big difference in how you approach it, right? It's how you convert. I'll give you an example. So many times in my career, I've been reaching out to my sphere of influence and been talking to people. And when it comes up that, hey, my brother might want to buy, this is what I always hear. Might call it my brother. My brother wants to buy, but he's like a year out. You guys ever hear that before?
Mhm.
And I go,
Yeah.
perfect. Now's a great time for me to talk with him because I don't know if anyone's taken the time to walk him through what it takes to buy a home in this current market with some of the NAR settlements and different things. Do you know if anyone's taken the time to walk him through? And I go, I don't think so. And I'm like, could you connect me on a text and I'll just chat with them? Then they put me on there and they go, I'm well, hey Jake, whatever. And they go, I go, nice to meet you. Sounds like you're not buying for a year, which is great. Has anyone taken the time to walk you through what it looks like to buy a home in this market? No, no one has. We should just jump on a 20-minute Zoom and I can explain it. That way, in a year, when you're ready to buy, we've got everything dialed in and you can just, pull the trigger. Would that work? And they almost always say yes. Then I jump on the call. Then I walk them through start to finish, and I go, just I know you bought a house before, right? And they're like, yeah, I have. And I'm like, okay, what's your current? I start getting the information. No, maybe I can get a sell and a buy now because they've already got a home, and I know what their problem is. They have a low interest rate, and they don't want to move to another house, right? So we start talking about it, and I go, well, here's the difference, and I explain literally start to finish, looking for homes, financing, and it's always in the financing. I start talking to them about, what are your thoughts? How much do you need to put down from the sale of your house? And I start having this conversation. They're like, well, I have to put all of it down, right? Like, no, you don't have to put all of it down. There's a lot of different options. You can use debt like wealthy people do, and you can only put 5% down instead of all of your equity. And then you could put money in the bank in order to offset your payment. I start talking about all these different scenarios of what they could do. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And what my point of this conversation is, the more I find out about them, the more ways I find out how we can actually solve their problem. And then when something comes up like, oh, I didn't know that I could keep some of my money or I could pay off my debt or this or that. I'm like, right. Or did you know that I could talk the seller possibly into buying your rate down for a couple of years? No, I didn't know that. So then when we get done, now they're curious. Now they have options of like, I didn't know I could move forward quicker. I, you know what? I'm going to start thinking about it. Then I start sending them homes. Hey, here's one that's been sitting on the market for 120 days. This is probably one where we could negotiate $20,000 to buy down your rate. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Can we look at it on Saturday? Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And next thing you know, I'm writing an offer and we're under contract and closed in 2 months. And it's not because I pressured them at all. It's because I had a conversation and I converted them to the idea of maybe I don't have to do it the way I thought I had to do it in my brain. Maybe there's actually other options because I could argue either way whether you should buy a house now or later, but if rates go down and house prices go up, you can't change your rate. Like you can change your rate, but you can't change the price you paid for your house, right? So I'm like, there's an offset. What do you think would happen? I ask him this. What do you think would happen if rates dropped to 4.5%? Would there be a feeding frenzy and just tons of people who are pent up who want to buy are going to buy? Yeah. Right. So now, would you rather get the option where you can get $20,000 from the seller, or would you rather wait until you're bidding at 20,000 above asking price?
Yeah.
Because we've seen both markets and it's tough, you know. And anyways, my point is you got to hunt a little bit. And is that true with online leads?
Yeah, that's 100% true. And, it's funny that you mentioned that because over the last few months, we've been working with a couple other lead conversion, real experts, and we've been working to shorten that nurture window because, it used to be that we would be like, where the person would say, I'm 6 months out. Okay, we'd take that 6 months and we really nurture them for the 6 months. We'd take them at their word. But the reality was, when we start asking for the appointment sooner, start providing more value sooner, we're able to shrink that down to where our 6 month nurtures are more like between 2 and 3 months.
Yeah.
So, it's all about being more efficient with your time, and the client as well, moving them to their goal sooner than later, not pressuring them, but like you say, bring value, bring the education, and then that window will shrink.
Yeah. Julie
Yeah.
or Eric or Ash and any of them, do you guys feel comfortable in having a conversation like I just said? Do you feel comfortable saying we should jump on a Zoom call and I should just walk you through what it takes to buy a house
Yeah,
and then
Sorry,
walking them through start to finish?
I
sure.
personally am sorry. Hopefully, you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you great.
I'm hitting a hit session really fast. Sorry.
Yeah, nice.
But sorry guys. But yeah. I would honestly, I like in person better than I do on Zoom. But if they like to do Zoom better, then I will do that or Google Meet, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like about Zoom, and you can do it in person too. What I like about Zoom is you can do it from anywhere. I've literally done this from sitting in Hawaii. I mean, like, let's just jump on a 20-minute call when my kids are sleeping and I bust it out and they're ready. They're looking at houses before I get home and I have Darby go show them houses, right? What I like about Zoom is I can also share my screen and can walk them through. Have you guys built a buyer presentation or a listing presentation?
I
Julie, you
have.
have?
I,
Yeah. Ashton, you have. So you feel
Mhm.
comfortable sharing that, walking them through. That's perfect.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable about it.
Yeah. The thing is, once you do that, and I always just say, hey, let me share my page. This is mostly for me to be on track because I have ADHD. And next thing you know, we can be talking about your cat or something. I'm like, so this is just going to keep me on track. And they laugh. I'm like, all right. And then I start walking them through. And normally on mine at the beginning, I'm like, here's a bunch of cool stuff about me. Yay, I'm awesome. Move forward. And they laugh because it's like 5-star reviews and 20 years experience and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no one really cares about this. This isn't about me. This is about you. So let's go to the next page. Let's talk about financing. That's where I always start, like getting pre-approved, pre-qualified. Do you know the difference? And they go, well, this is a great conversation starter. When I start asking them questions, can you tell me, like, do you know the difference between pre-qual and pre-approval? Most people don't. Remember, no one wants to look stupid. My goal is to never make them look stupid. My goal is to make them feel totally normal and totally comfortable in asking questions. Because you'd be surprised at how many people have questions that say, no questions. Nope.
Yeah.
But in their mind, right, Tosh, in their mind, they're like, I don't know about this. I think I have to do this. I think I have to do that. Blah, blah, blah. It's the art of how do you get them to converse and start talking about it. And Tosh, what have you found? Like, do you have any secrets on that or tricks on that? How to get them going and how to get them talking?
Yeah, definitely. It is all about them and not you. Your curiosity. You have to be a very curious person, especially when we're talking online leads, because you want to get them, you want to ask leading questions that get them to engage with you. And there's a couple key ways to do that. Let me segue for a little bit. So,
Yep.
Julie, Eric, Ashton, are you already working at online leads? Is this something you're looking to add to your pipeline or?
I would like to add it. For me personally, I worked leads like 4 years ago, and I just paid a ton of money,
Mhm.
and it deterred me so bad because every person I got was like either a fake phone number or a fake email or something along the lines of that, or you would reach out to them 100,000 times. But I'm not a pushy person anyways, and I really don't rush nobody. I let people know that up front. I always do. But like at the same time, I would reach out to them, then I leave them be, and I just say,
Mhm.
hey, reach out again. But I wasn't trying to be pushy, and it just never went anywhere. Or we'd have a conversation, and it just never happened. So it just deterred me so bad from online leads. But I would like to
Yeah.
add it now.
Yeah. Well, and you are, I mean, you're exactly who we love, Ashton, because believe me, those are the same challenges we faced and the same mistakes that we made because none of us want to be pushy people. None of us want to be salespeople. There's a way to frame that and approach it where you are their guide. And believe me, it'll transform the way you think. What about you, Eric and Julie?
Yeah, it's something that I would like to add, just something to help boost me in the beginning of this journey. And from the first time I've heard you talk about this, Tosh, it really resonated because I've sold a lot of different stuff over the years, a lot of door-to-door stuff. I've sold alarms and solar, and I've gotten kind of the same feedback from guys I work with. Some guys are just super pushy, like push for the close. And I have people tell me all the time, like, I don't understand how when we walk out of somebody's house, you just sold them whatever you were selling, but you're also now their best friend. And I'm way more, I feel like, kind of your vibe, like talk about anything except what I'm selling,
Right.
and then gain that trust and that comfort, and then it just kind of falls into place.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. How about you, Julie?
I uh I'm online quite a bit right now, but I just I'll reach out to my sphere and that's about it. I don't have any real way to get online leads at the moment.
Mhm.
I just signed up with the new CRM with Lofty.
Nice.
So hopefully we can get some online leads that way through my website and just they've got an AI thing and whatnot. But I want to set up some sort of drip campaign or something so I'm able to at least nurture the people I have in a better way that they know what I'm doing or that they can understand some things better and it just would make it easier for me to share.
Right.
So
And I think, and back to Ashton, this is a golden time for online leads because traditionally, let's say you bought a bunch of leads or you have a really robust source. And so, you've got 1,000 leads a month coming into your pipeline. There's no way you can possibly keep up with all those and nurture them
For
over
sure.
time.
For sure.
But
And that makes sense, honestly. And that's why, like, I would love to start getting back into it and adding it because I've been on the referral side, SOI, since I
Mhm.
started too. And that's kind of just really worked for me because I'm more of a build a relationship type person. I want to be your friend. You could call me, I guess, if you need me for anything at that point. It's the type of relationship I'm trying to build. And so I just need the consistency with the online leads too. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and like I say, this is tech from a technological standpoint, there's no better time because there's so many great systems out there that are able to use AI to do
Mhm.
that heavy lifting on the nurture and the follow-up. So that's sort of the basis of our whole tech stack is, the lead comes in, the agent does a calling and texting and emailing strategy for 10 days, and then that lead moves off of their radar. We don't sit there and obsess over them. If we haven't been able to make contact with them, they go into a nurture pond where AI texting, AI calling, and action
So,
plan
question
email
on,
drips are go.
sorry, really quick question. I did not mean to cut you off like that.
That's okay.
Right, so, when I used to use Lofty, and then I had Firepoint at one point in time too. Um, it would do that, put them into a nurture pool, and it would do the AI texting and all that stuff. But it was really so robotic that like
Mhm.
you could just really tell that wasn't me. and
Yep.
I feel like it deterred people off a lot. So I just didn't. How does your guys' like AI chat
So,
work?
it has just become so much better now. And what you want to look for is what they call naturalistic chat. And that's where the AI is actually, thinking, and it's incredible the conversations it will have. It most of the time it does better than our agents do, to be honest, because it's not pushing for the commission. It doesn't have a need to make an appointment. It's just there to have a conversation. So, even when there's been conversations, the person will say, well, my husband just passed 6 months ago. The responses from the chat are just incredible how good they are. The same with the calling now, is, a lot of times you wouldn't know it's not a human on the other side of it. So it's a great time to lean into that tech as kind of just an overall package. It always comes down to the agent making the call. We don't want agents to get stuck in I'm just going to sit back and text because it's easier than making a call and hope I can create a relationship that way. That doesn't work. I can tell you, text is a tool, just like email is a tool, but we're always pushing for that initial phone call, right?
Yeah, that's what I like. I like the phone calls better if when I that's just me. Because I also get a feel for like how this person's feeling on the phone. Like I get a better feel for it than on text. Because sometimes you take text wrong. Like, oh, okay, is this person upset or is this person like
Yeah,
irritated? Or
exactly.
on the phone I can gauge better. Like, okay, like this person's okay to have a conversation right now, or maybe we should reschedule. They're not really digging this, or something
Yeah.
like that. So I do like the conversation best.
So let's talk about it a little bit. You've got all these leads in your database, whether you're using Lofty or Follow Up Boss or something. A really good database is key. A really good CRM. It just, you're not going to be effective if you don't have a good one that allows you to see their intent, that allows you to see a little bit what they've been doing. Are they looking at a particular property address or whatever it might be. But the first step really comes into a mindset where most agents fail with online leads is they don't have consistency and they don't have mindset. So I got a few hours between showings. I'm going to run back to the office and call leads. Or it's Saturday morning, I'm going to sit down and call leads. It has to be just like going to the gym. It has to be regular, right? Because this is your paycheck. This is your database. It has to be something that you treat as I'm doing this every day. And then getting in the right mindset, being able to call leads when you're in the right frame of mind. If you've just come off a bad inspection and a cranky client, it's probably not the time to pick up the phone and start calling leads and then having the patience to nurture them, right?
Yeah.
I agree for sure.
Yeah. So we have, what we instill is kind of a dialing mindset. It's okay to own that nobody likes calling leads, especially, you come in and there's 15, 20 new leads in your database, sitting down and plowing through those isn't always fun. And that there's going to be rejection. That there's going to be no answers, but that's okay. That's a normal part of this, right? Lewis, did you have something to add there?
No, I was just gonna say, is there any tricks you have on mindset for that? Is like, do you tell yourself anything, or do you say, hey, look, I'm gonna try and get 10 no's today or 100 no's today? Like, how do you gamify it to where it doesn't suck?
So the way that I teach agents to gamify it is, we don't want to make these about paychecks or commissions, right? But you not picking up that phone could be the difference between you having a $15,000-$20,000 paycheck in a few months or not, right?
Yeah.
That's standing between you and feeding your family. That's one. Two, just knowing it's a numbers game, right? We're mining for gold. We're going to plow through the calls. We're going to keep going. We're going to get a no every now and then. We're going to get a hang up every now and then. We're going to be told to go jump in the lake. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
The biggest part about the mindset is making them about them and not you. You're not doing this to get something out of the call. You're doing this call to deliver something to them. They don't know they need you yet, right? But if Ashton and Julie, you're good real estate agents, right? You have value to bring. That person is lost out there. They really don't know they need you yet in the process. The other
Makes
thing
sense.
we do is call when you're at your best. Pick the time of day when your energy is at the best or when you're feeling the most positive, right? We don't have to always call leads at the same time every day, but try and pick your peak time and then get in your comfort zone, right? Like I'm usually a stand up on the phone. When I'm on the phone, I got to be walking, I got to be doing something,
That's
right?
how I am, honestly.
Yep. Yeah. So I need to be in a space where I can do that. The other thing when it coming back to your CRM, I highly recommend a CRM that records calls or does an AI transcription. Because if you're trying to keep notes and remember stuff, you're going to lose your rhythm and lose your flow, right? Just be there to listen and to engage with the lead. And then the number one rule for getting in mindset is warm up. Athletes, they always warm up before the game, right? So do you have any ideas how you'd warm up for calls?
I would like to have some ideas because I warming up I'd be down to warm up. Honestly, it just sometimes it's still sketchy because you just get in your mind like, okay, well, I can warm up, but I might get the warm up calls might be a bunch of no's, and then I'm gonna get a little irritated, and I'm not gonna want to do it for a second.
Yep. Okay, so the best way to warm up is start with somebody who isn't going to hang up on you or tell you to F off. So that means calling your sphere, calling a past client you haven't reached out to in a while, just doing some soft check-ins, right? An active client, hey, just bringing you up to speed on where we are. Those are people that are going to be happy to talk to you. It's going to get the nerves off, right? If you can't do that, then use AI. Claude, almost any of those good, and in fact, there's some actual AI role play call training sessions. And that's what we use here through a company called Maverick. Get on there and it'll walk you through scenarios, an angry buyer or an upset seller or just all these different scenarios, and just use it to get your game on kind of a little bit.
I like that. Do you have a question for you really fast too? When you
Sure.
make phone calls, do you not that you have like a script, but do you kind of have like a starter script in the beginning, or do you kind of just go with the flow of the conversation, like off rip?
Yep, we do, and we'll segue right into that. Now, when we set up our calling, the way we have it set up is we have it on auto call. So I don't want the agents going in. They have a minimal screen. We don't want them going in and trying to predetermine this lead, right? We don't want them looking them up online. We don't want them looking at every house or, if they did an intake form, we don't want them trying to pick that apart. So we just want them to make the call and make the connection. Because how many times have you talked to somebody and they said they wanted this or wanted to spend in this price point and it was totally different at the end, right?
Yeah.
We'll have people that'll register on our site that was looking at a $200,000 home because that's what they clicked on, but really their budget was $650, right? So you have to be careful not to assume what that lead is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You make or break the call with your introduction. And this is where most people get it wrong, is when they call that lead, they say the wrong thing. So anybody have an idea what's the first mistake people make when they call somebody?
I feel like it's like, well, hi, my name is Ashton Loftus. I'm with Real Broker LLC. I noticed that you, or something to that effect, clicked on my website or my something. Are you interested? And it's kind of automatically like jumping into, are you interested in buying or something like that?
Yep, you're pushing to a close right away. The first mistake people do is, and I'm going to do it right now with you, Ashton, ring, ring, and you answer, okay? Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, is this Ashton?
Yes, this is.
That's
Okay.
the problem.
That's the problem, right? Because people who know you don't ask who you are, right? When your friends call you, they don't ask who this is. But who does ask that?
Salespeople.
Somebody who's trying to sell you.
Somebody, the 500 spam calls we get a day, right?
Yeah.
And who else is going to be answering Lewis's phone? Pretty slim likelihood, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the first thing we're going to do is move right to their name.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Eric, how you doing today? Right? And if it's not Eric, they'll say it's not Eric, right?
Yeah.
No big loss. But the majority of the time, And if somebody calls you up and Lewis picks up the phone and you say, "Hey, Lewis, how's it going today?" Are you disarmed? Like, shoot, do I know this guy?
Yeah, that's the first thing you're thinking of. Who is this? You're automatically going, crap, I'm a little embarrassed. I don't know who this is.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. So the other thing I want to say is, don't get too into a script on your call. Like nothing signals spammer or robocall like an exact dictated, well-rehearsed script, right? Go into it genuinely because you're genuinely curious, right? Your mindset is whatever this person is doing that's on your screen, you're really interested in what their housing needs are or what they're doing, right? So we're not going to ask for them by name. The second most important thing is we're going to mirror and match their greeting. Does everybody know what mirroring and matching is?
Yeah.
You should, right? Okay. So we mirror and match their tone and their cadence because it creates familiarity.
Yeah, kind of,
Right?
I naturally do that almost to a point where it annoys me. Like I
agree.
I don't want to act like I'm two-faced, but
Oh yeah.
I don't know if someone's just kind of ornery, I'm more direct with them or calm. Calm with them is maybe a better term. I'm not trying to like, hey, Tosh, if you're like, hey, what's up? I'm not like,
Yeah.
what's up, buddy? I don't do that. Even if they swear a little bit, I might swear. Like, I just naturally kind of. I've even started using their accent, and then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't, what am I doing? I got to relax, So
it's hard not to do that, but it's really the right thing to do because it subtly reflects their speech patterns and their communication style, and that creates understanding, right? When you
Yeah.
talk to your friends and family, you talk the way they do because it's familiar and it's comfortable, right? And it's disarming.
yeah,
That's why I say don't over rehearse your script because you will come off as very sales oriented, right?
yeah.
So if I call Eric and he's what, I'm going to say, "Hey Eric, what's up?" Like, what, right?
Yeah.
Because when you mirror something back to somebody, they're either going to take it down a notch, right? Or that's just the way they are.
Yeah, that's just how they are, and that's how they want to communicate.
Yeah. I think most agents tend to make their opener way too long, right? They want to read off their, entire, curriculum vitae, if you will. This is Lewis Weaver, principal broker, Lewis Weaver
Blah, blah,
Real Estate.
blah.
Exactly, right? We're 5 minutes into this call. So
Yeah.
we keep it really simple. Hey, Lewis, this is Tosh, Willamette Properties Group. Saw you were on my website looking at homes. And then you want to go up in the pitch now. Did you see anything you liked? They may catch the up pitch on the end. And that's an NLP trick, a neuro linguistic programming trick. When we go uplift on our questions, what does it tend to do to people? Think of it this way. Hey, Lewis, did you see anything you liked? Hey, Lewis, did you see anything you liked?
Yeah.
Right. The delivery, right? It's adding excitement, it's building anticipation, and it's positive. Right.
Yeah.
So
100%.
try and bring those uplifts into it. Now, they're going to be wondering why you called, right? Because most of the time they're going to say, well, hey, would you give me a call? You're just calling because they did some actionable item, right? So we're going to keep it really simple. I saw you checked out some homes on my website. I saw you registered on my website, and then we're just going to ask him a question. Did you see anything you liked? Are you considering a move sometime soon, or are you just browsing right now? Either of those questions doesn't force them to say no. And that's what we want. We don't want to give them an opportunity to shut down. We're just going to wait for their answer, right? Not move to the next question. So, Eric, if I call you and say, hey, Eric, Tosh Willamette Properties Group, I saw you were searching homes on our website. Did you see anything you liked?
Yeah, I saw that the 3-bedroom, I think, was the one that I clicked on. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, that was the one on Smith Street. What about that house caught your eye?
I would say the biggest thing for me there is the location.
Oh, I got you. So location's important to you. What is it about that location that's so important?
Yeah, just having young kids, I want to make sure we're in a good neighborhood, family friendly neighborhood. That's a big deal for me and my wife right now.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have kids, they're all grown up, but how old are your kids?
I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
All right, that's awesome. So, I understand how important the neighborhood is. Is there any other neighborhoods in that area that interest you?
I mean, we're pretty early in the process of looking. That was just one that kind of caught my eye.
Got it. So did you guys see there? That was a conversation, right? That wasn't a, are you pre-approved? Are you ready to buy today? Are you already working with a real estate agent? None of it matters because I'm just curious about what Eric's got going on.
And
The
it
other,
really was. It's about me, and it's not. I wasn't like ever alarmed at like, oh, what's he selling or what's he trying to get to. It's just natural.
so our highest producing agents in this office have one thing in common. And when you go back and listen to all their calls, in that first phone call, they will do anything to not talk about themselves and real estate, just about eliciting information from the person. Oh, you need a fourth bedroom, a backyard's really important, but they're not going to dig into the tough questions. They're not even necessarily going to get into the pre-approval or anything unless the buyer leads them there because they want to make it all about finding common ground and relationship.
Makes sense.
Um,
Yeah, totally.
yeah, so that's why I say, lead with curiosity, not a pitch. What's got you looking, or what are you looking to change about where you live right now is one of the best engagement questions you can use because it's going to cover a lot of things. If I say to you, Julie, hey Julie, what's got you looking? What are you looking to change about where you live right now?
Hmm.
You're going to have something, right? You're going to
Yeah.
be in an apartment. You're going to say, oh, we need a bigger backyard. I need to move for my job. And that's going to open up so many different avenues you can go down and be curious about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, leave the door open. Are you thinking about buying in the next few weeks or are you just browsing, right? Again, we don't just, if we say, if you want to buy, do you want to buy right now? What's most likely going to be their answer?
No.
No.
No, no, we
Because
can't right now.
what do
Yeah.
we condition when we go into a store and the salesperson asks if they can help you? What are we conditioned?
Just looking.
Just looking, right? Or no thanks. But if you say, are you thinking about buying in the next few weeks or just browsing, you aren't forcing them to say no or to get you off their back. Yeah, we're just looking. Awesome. Hey, I've got a house and I still look at houses online. Lewis has like 7 houses and he still
Yeah.
looks, right?
I look all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're jamming through it pretty quick. Anybody got any questions on that?
What
No,
I'm gonna
it's making sense.
what I'm gonna do is you emailed me the Conversion Club reference resources.
Hmm.
I can probably put that in our group because you have on there curiosity framework and apply to common, how do you reply to common objections, your daily reminder, just some good stuff. I'm gonna see if I can upload those. So
Yeah, and I'll throw something here in the chat too. Okay,
cool.
so the last one is, you've had this really good conversation, right? You've got some good information. There's one way to end a conversation, and does anybody know what that is?
With the next action.
You got it. Yep. You always want to end with the next logical step, right? Not every conversation is going to be, something actionable. We're not always going to rush out to meet them at a house or get them set up with our lender or anything like that. But there can always be another logical step. So, and never vague. You don't ever want to go, okay, well, I'll tell you what, it sounds like you're 2 months out. I'll check back with you in 2 months. What is that unconsciously saying to them?
You don't care. You just want a
You're
paycheck.
not
Yeah,
important.
you're not doing anything important enough to me right now to be bothered with other than setting a time on my calendar, right? So we're going to leave it with something that we need to do. There's always something in a conversation. They've asked something about a property, or they say, hey, I'm working on my credit, right? I'm going to be a few months out. So what could we leave them with when something like that? So something like that, you could say, that is awesome. I'm going to send you some resources on credit repair. So I'll tell you what, when we hang up, I'm going to email you this over and I'm going to call you on Friday just to make sure you got it and see if you had any questions. 2:00 work for you, right? So a couple things. We're giving them something of value. We're setting the next call in advance, right? We aren't asking for permission to call them. This is what we're going to do next. And then we're going to name the time. Now they may say 2:00's not good for me. Then you can make it 3:00, right? But if you just say what time is good for you, it leaves it open for them to say no. Now, that's not really, we don't need a call, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's the other important thing is to tie that next step to them. If you just say, okay, I'm going to call you in 2 weeks, like Lewis said, that says I need a commission. I need a paycheck in 2 weeks, right? So make sure whatever you're tying it back to is something that benefits them. Some resources. Oh, here's another one you often hear people like, oh, when I'm going in to have, leg surgery, man, I hope that goes really well. I'm going to call you back in a couple of weeks just to see how recovery is going, and if there's anything I can do to help you out, right? Because who does that? Who asks a perfect stranger if there's anything they can do to help them, right?
Right.
You do.
do.
Spammers
Yeah.
don't.
No. Yeah, they don't care.
Yep. And then the other thing is it's never too early to ask for an appointment. Now here's, where Lewis started our session today was talking about the person that was a year out, but he pushed for the appointment now, whether it's Zoom or not. And that is something that when we started just asking for the appointment right early and often, we closed our conversion timeline. We increased our closing rates tremendously. And it was just simply by asking for that appointment. Now they may say no. They may say, oh, we're just starting to look. Okay, no problem, But sometimes, more often than not, they'll be like, yeah, we can do an appointment. And the way that we kind of have found that works really well is just to make it sort of funny and just sort of disarming, right? After the call, hey, I know you aren't ready to move yet. You're probably a couple months out, but would it be crazy to just, take an afternoon and look at a couple houses just so I learn a little bit more about you guys? Right? The would it be crazy is a great line because it can just it's disarming, like, this is not serious. This is just fun, us looking at houses, right? Because we all know we will do better once we get in front of these people, right? And we will cement our relationship with them. It works really well with sellers. I'm sure you guys all have the sellers in your pipeline that's like, well, I'll be ready in spring, or, I'm 2 months out. I want to finish the whatever. Hey, I know you're a couple months out, Lewis, but, I'm going to be in your neighborhood next Tuesday. Could I swing by around 4:00, just kind of see what you got going on and introduce myself? You've already established that they are not ready now. Okay, awesome. Makes my job easier. I don't have to try and get you to sign a listing agreement, but I'm going to be in the neighborhood. So why not just swing in? What's the harm, right?
Yeah. What I like to say is, I'm going to be out by your neighborhood actually on Tuesday. Could I swing by and you could show me any projects you're working on that might improve the value?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or anything you're concerned about. What I've found in my life or in my career is a lot of people think they have to put too much money into their house and that's what holds them back. I'd love to just walk through and give you my opinion.
Yeah. So just to kind of sum all of this up, guys, it's be the curious person, be the nosy person, just get really interested about what they're doing and what's happening in their life. Because what that does is it takes this need for you to have a paycheck off, this need to perform and be the professional and say all the right things. People think they have to start spewing value and explaining contracts and things like that. But if it was your friend or your sphere, you just talk to them about what they're after, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is no different. That's all I got. Anybody got any
Sweet.
questions or input?
I was actually going to
Honestly, I
ask
loved it.
awesome.
Sorry
I was just going to say, I want to ask everyone to write down your biggest takeaway and then also something you would like to learn on the next session. Just
Oops.
this is where I normally say, I'll play some music and give you
You
guys
can
38 seconds to write down your biggest takeaway. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I would say my biggest takeaway is just what you said there at the end. Just be the curious person. Just talk to somebody like you would your sphere. And I think that's where I get hung up. I was just on a call with Lewis a week or two ago and just told him one of my biggest reservations, and I let it come out, is that I am a new agent, that I haven't worked with a ton of buyers or sellers, that especially ones that are not my sphere, not friends and family that I'm already comfortable with. And so when I have to go into a listing appointment or give a buyer's pitch, I feel like that's what I'm doing, is pitching them. And I just need to, I think, get my own way and just be normal.
Are you ever asked about your experience, or do you just, that's just something you feel like it's?
I feel like I almost direct the conversation there because I'm so scared of it.
Sure. Well, put this in your mindset. I'm sure there are plenty of agents in your market that you don't, that list a lot of homes or represent a lot of buyers that you know are actually not good agents or ethical agents or put paychecks above clients, right? So you're coming at it from a different
Sure.
point. You genuinely care, right? You genuinely have value and you have something to offer them, and you know that you will take care of your client, right? So keep that mindset. Don't worry about how much experience you have behind you, but what you're going to bring to the table.
That's awesome.
And normally, I like that you asked if this is your problem or theirs. Normally, the biggest problem you have in your mind, you portray to the client, and it's not even a problem for them, right? Like
Mhm.
it's, I'll give you an example. I thought everyone wanted a discount, and because I was a firefighter, worked full time, so I gave everyone a discount. And then in my mind, no one wanted to pay 6% ever, and it was like this huge thing. And my coach told me, you're an idiot for not charging 6%. You bring way more value. The worst thing that someone could do is pick a 5% or a 4% agent and get lower quality. You owe it to them to be their agent. You're only talking 1 or 2% difference, which you can easily fluctuate that with negotiation skills, with marketing campaigns, with everything that you bring to the table. So you're actually screwing your client over by not charging them enough and not giving them your full attention and this and that, and blah, blah. And it was just enough to change my mindset. And he's like, your next one, when you walk in, just say, I charge 6%, circle it and be like this and just move forward like it's no big deal. Like they're not even going to question you. Just here's what I charge, 6%. Here's our net breakdown, da, 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 da. And this is back when we had to charge the 6% up front, right? Before the NAR settlement. So I do this and the guy goes, all right, sounds good. I'm like, wait a minute. He's not going to freak out, right? He's not going to lose his mind. And then I had a client ask me, what do you charge? And I said, I charge 6%. And he goes, good, because I won't work with someone who charges less. And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, I don't deal with people who aren't professionals. So I want full representation. I'm like, okay. And then it was like this mind. Then guess how many times it's come up? Hardly ever.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what's
and
crazy.
we've got some great tips to use when sellers want to beat you down on your commission and stuff. You know, one of them, let's say, well, will you do it for 2%? Like, hey, you know what? I only have so much time in my day, and I can handle about 5 or 6 clients and give them my full attention with listings. But so you know, I have to really pick. So I don't discount it. But I have some junior agents that might be interested in doing it if you'd rather, you know, have them take it. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would, you know, Lewis, too, maybe something we want to do sometime is, you know, if you guys are thinking about getting into online leads, I'd be happy to talk about, you know, where to source them and the backbone of the systems that we use, because that's really important, is having the right tech behind it. Because otherwise you just get thousands of leads and you know, you don't know where to start.
Yeah, for sure. Most of the people in here are part of the Captivate Agent program, which is
Hmm.
you've seen that. Basically, just how
Yep.
to be a hyper local agent and how to direct people to your websites, which Lofty captures, and then they start building leads. So I think it'd be great to talk about that. It would also be um, before I want to make sure Julie and Ashton could share their biggest takeaway and what they'd like to know also.
Honestly, oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Julie. Go ahead.
how to source them would be really valuable to me. I'm just a newer agent. I got my license in January, so yeah. So and this has been really valuable too. It's just like because you get all the different scripts and you're kind of overwhelmed with, oh, I'm going to do it wrong or whatever. And it's like if you just get to know them just like any other person,
Yeah.
that makes it so much easier. Like I really enjoy this conversation of just I am a non-salesy person and I'm in sales apparently, and I was like, oh, shit.
So I want to recommend a book for you. I'll put in the chat here. This is the
Oh,
Bible,
okay.
the Bible for ethical lead conversion, for approaching it. I mean, basically everything I'm teaching, I ripped off from Barry, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And this is a great way to get those nerves that I'm a salesman put aside.
Yes. Yeah, I have a book, The Inner Game of Selling, just because that was something someone else recommended, but just get over you're offering value. I know I have a lot of value, but
it's also a very short book, so I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
exactly. I haven't been very nice to door-to-door salesmen in the past, and so I'm kind of
well, to be honest, they come at it all wrong, right? I mean, there is a reason that we hang up on spammers and scammers and salespeople because and as you start learning this
person though now, like
yeah, but you're not going at it the way you're not going at it for a paycheck, right? I mean, that's the ultimate end goal, but we're all here to serve the client and get good reviews and referrals because that's what it's all about. And also in the beginning, especially, and we still do it now, we say yes to anything. I mean, 35% lead referral source like Movado or Ojo, like, yeah, we'll take them because there's a cost of acquisition for all clients, all leads, right? If we got to give up 35% because there's a referral from Texas or New York, what are the chances I would have ever made contact with that person, right? In my sphere. And then once you get
turn into 10 more deals,
that's 100%. Their family comes, they're leaving you reviews. It's only 35% the first time, right?
Right.
And that's kind of how we catapulted our business, and so did our agents. So, and I have a bunch of sites I can share too of those pay at close lead sources.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody got anything else?
What about, I think
our wins.
Ashton wanted to say something.
No, you're good. I was just going to say my biggest takeaway was just how you start your conversation rather than obviously you let them know who you are, but it's not like you're automatically going into a sales pitch or anything like that. You're like just having a natural conversation with them, which then flows into what you're doing. So that was my biggest takeaway, is because I do sometimes tend to on online leads, like I'll do the first part of it where it's like a relationship conversation, then I'll kind of gear more towards to what I called about, just so I guess in my mind, I'm like, don't want them to get off track, even though I guess they're on track, I don't know. So that's where I mess up there. So I like how you did that. And then honestly, my biggest thing I want to learn more about is how you nurture them more so, like even if they do say no, because I've nurtured clients and I've done that stuff, and sometimes it's okay, fun, like it's not a bad thing, but there's sometimes too where it's like for an example, I had somebody that I've been nurturing and I talked to Lewis about it some time ago, and obviously I let them go. I've never dropped a client. I've only time I've ever dropped a client is like when they have like gone off on me or anything like that. I've had a couple of people like go tell me that I cause cancer and I'm the reason why we're poor and all this
Wow.
other stuff like that. And yeah, just and
Oh, so
it was
powerful.
Like,
Yeah,
I was
no
like,
kidding.
wow.
Maybe you shouldn't be selling real estate. You got some
I
real
know. I'm like, man,
jobs.
if I'm causing cancer and stuff like that, then I must be something else. So, but yeah. So like I've never. But then Lewis had kind of gave me the nudge to drop her because I had nurtured her and nurtured her and nurtured her.
Yeah.
And we went to house to house to house to house, and it just kind of became a time wasting thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's one of the most liberating things you can do is fire a client too. You
Yeah.
know, and you just have to look at it as how much time is this person taking away from people who really would value my skills and my input, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, too, like we allow AI and technology to do the vast majority of heavy lifting nurturing if you have the right systems, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be cool to get into the systems next time. That'll be
Yeah,
great.
we'll screen share and you guys can see because ours is very, you know, like Lofty, but we know when they're online. We know how many times they're viewing a property, you know, all that kind of data that's so important for the AI to work off of.
Yeah. And then one more thing before we go, I text each of you guys and I put my language in the chat when someone texts me and asks for a lower commission. And my response is in regard to your lower commission, I know that I'm not the cheapest option, but usually I get my clients the most money. There's several factors that affect how much you get in your pocket at closing. The correct agent makes a big difference in all of them. Some examples are pricing, strategy, marketing, negotiations on price, repairs, seller concessions to buyer, etc. The reason I'm one of the top agents is because I bring more value to all of those scenarios, which ultimately puts more money in your pocket at closing. That is what you're looking for, correct? So I use that NLP at the end. The reason why I did this is I went against 5 different agents and they all said they'd do it for 1 to 1.5% cheaper than me. And I just sent her that and she goes, yep, signing it now. We'll move forward. You know, and I thought, wow, one text made me $8,000 more in one text, just learning how to articulate my value. And you guys can change the language in there if you want a little bit, if you're newer or whatever. But my point is, they wanted certainty. They wanted somebody who would get the deal done. And I've used this text now a couple times and beat out multiple people who have offered. They've said, I really love you. I want to go with you. But the other guy says he'll do it for 5%. And so many agents go, oh, I'll match. And I just hit them back with like, no, here's what I'm doing. And they're like, gosh, okay, I want to go with him. So, in fact, one of my other favorite lines, this last thing I'll say, I know we got to go. One of my favorite lines ever is, so you want to negotiate my contract? And they're like, yeah. And I go, I would suggest take me off the table. Let's say you want to go with someone else. I would still go with the 6% agent because if you can negotiate your own contract with them and you're hiring them to be your negotiator on the biggest investment of your life, I would probably pick someone else. Like if you can do a better job at negotiating than they can, I would either A, sell the house myself, or B, pick another person that I can't negotiate against.
Yeah.
Because if they're so easy to give you a discount and negotiate against themselves, what are they going to do for you?
You know, and I will say on that, Lewis, like we do before we do go for a listing appointment, before we even get to that discussion, we're sending emails with this is our marketing strategy, this is what we'll do, and asking for the seller to do homework. And the way we phrase it is, you know, I'm going to send you all this stuff. So when we do meet in person, I don't just have to talk about myself. I can just focus on what your needs are. And I can guarantee you very few other agents are doing that. So you're already sending them something of value and you're giving them homework. Tell me everything about your house. Tell me any repairs you think it needs. And when you build that little relationship, that micro relationship, that's going to set you up for the, you know, to win the listing.
That's awesome. Well, I know we got to end it, but thanks guys for showing up and Tosh, you always bring fire, man. It's always great.
Buddy.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So watch
it and reach out to me if you guys have any questions or stumbling blocks. I'm always available.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
Okay, guys.
You guys have a good rest of your day. Be safe. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
See ya.